What's up, everybody? Pat here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about how to gain some attention instantly online. And this is obviously really important, especially in the environment that we're in right now, where everybody's fighting for each other's attention. Everybody is seeking to have other people's time brought their way. How do we compete with that? How do we get in front of people? And how do we get people to stick around? All that and more today here on the Income Stream. Thanks for joining me. Let me know if you're here in the chat. Say hello to your friends. And if you're here watching the replay, hook me up with a hashtag team replay. And as the intro's playing, hit that thumbs up button. Let's do this.
This is the Income Stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the Income Stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The Income Stream with Pat Flynn.
Very cool. We got Stephanie in the house, Bernard, Just Samson, Wendy, Grandma Goody, Mai, Kathy, Ryan, GTO, Gabriella. We got Andrew. Let's see who else is here. Kenny, Remodel Media. Welcome in. Thanks and Happy New Year to y'all if I didn't see you yesterday. We had a really good conversation yesterday, and oftentimes I look at the stats from these live streams, and typically they remain after the stream is over, pretty much the same. Several thousand people watch these, but yesterday's in particular was seen by many people, which means it had been resonating with people. And yesterday we talked about 5 different ways that we can approach 2021, right? Goal setting, making clear goals, all those sorts of things. If you haven't seen yesterday's stream, I'd highly recommend you check that out. An hour of gold that some people have told me, and I think it's going to be well worth your time. So if you didn't catch yesterday's, catch yesterday's. But we're here today. We're talking about something in particular that I think is going to be really helpful for us as we put more of ourselves online, because yes, putting ourselves online, staying consistent, remaining consistent, and coming out with great quality content is really important. But if we're not capturing people's attention instantly, well, they're likely going to go somewhere else. And we've seen this before on places like YouTube, where in a video in particular, if you are creating great content, well, you need a really good hook to bring people in and have people notice that, wow, okay, I haven't seen something like this before. This is where I need to go. But also just outside of content, right? We want people to know we exist. We want additional exposure. And there's many different kinds of ways to get additional exposure. But today I wanted to give you 2 principles. That's right. 2 principles that we can use when it comes to our approach online, that we can use to help us actually just gain that attention more instantly. The quickest way to have people notice us and go, whoa, you're different. And I like that, right? So if that sounds good to you, let me know in the chat. And again, welcome in everybody. Some people coming in late. Miss Boyce, John Carl Lewis, Sue, great to see you. Antonica, great. I'm very excited that we're all here. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to give you 2 ways to gain instant attention. And the first way, and this way actually works really, really well, is to have somebody else talk about you. The somebody else can be a podcaster, a YouTuber, a person with a platform. And obviously a lot of people have platforms these days. And we're going to dive into this, but I want to talk about this a little bit. And I think it was Mark Zuckerberg back when Facebook came about that said, there is no better recommendation than one that comes from a trusted friend. Right? There's no better recommendation than one that comes from a trusted friend. Wow, I fumbled in the exact same spot. That's weird. So what does this mean exactly? Well, there's a lot of people who have earned trust with an audience. And if we can, I don't want to say take advantage of that, because that makes it seem like we're just doing this for us, because typically if you're going to do this right, you actually want to come from a giving position to get in front of another audience, a giving position to be on another podcast, a giving position to collaborate with another YouTuber, for example. But when a person who has earned the trust of an audience recommends a thing or a person, place, or thing, they're more likely to pay attention to it than if that thing itself or person or place were to connect with that person directly. So we can use these relationships that have already been built. But of course, there's a lot to this. We can't just go to somebody and say, hey, can you recommend me? We need to offer some value of some kind. We need to help in some way, shape, or form, right? So one classic example of this that's working really well right now for people is to see how you might be able to be a guest on another podcast. Guest podcasting is huge right now, especially with more and more podcasts going out there, more and more people listening to them, a lot more money being put in that space. And this is similar to how when blogging took off back in 2000, guest blogging was like the way to go, because you were actually seen and shown on another person's blog. But now we have the podcast, which adds layers of flavor to that, right? And I'm not talking the Rachel 9-layer casserole with beef and sugar. If you've seen Friends, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about layers that actually add to it, right? I'm talking about your voice and your intonation, your emotion, your real personality coming out in that person's show, along with the endorsement from the host that people have gained a really, really good relationship with, right? So who here, let me know in the chat if you are going to be doing more guest podcasting. Now you might consider, oh, well, I'm not that big. I don't have a story to share. I don't have that much information. Well, in that case, yeah, you're right. You're probably not going to be on another podcast, because a podcaster would want to feature a great story, a great set of lessons, a great step-by-step thing that they haven't shown before. In which case, okay, we have to really focus on ourselves and understand what is our superpower. What is the thing that we get to add value to for other people's audiences? Because again, this is strategy number 1 here. We're talking about 2 things today to gain instant attention. And the first principle that we're talking about is having other people talk highly of you, to get endorsed by somebody else, to have another podcaster, YouTuber, blogger, influencer with a large social channel or small social channel. It doesn't really matter the size, but having other people talk about you is a great way for people to understand quickly that you're worth paying attention to. It goes such a long way. You can cut through the relationship building process by having somebody else who's already built that relationship trust you enough to recommend you to their audience, right? So a lot of people are telling me that they are going to be guest podcasting this year, which is really great. I mentioned this on a webinar yesterday to some of our Fusebox customers, fusebox.fm, if you want to check that out. If you are a podcaster, I had a little webinar with them yesterday about how to crush podcasting in 2021. And one of the strategies was guest podcasting. But let's talk about this more. How else might you get in front of other people? Well, let me tell you a quick story. I haven't done story time in a while. Let's do a story. Yeah, let's do story time. So there was a man, his name was Derek Halpern, and he started his blog Social Triggers back in 2010. This was a year and a half after I started mine, and mine started to finally gain momentum, and he was brand new to the space. And he was sharing the same audience as me. He was talking about entrepreneurship, talking about building your email list, all those sorts of things. But he had a superpower. His superpower was distilling these really complicated university studies, these really incredibly high university written reports about psychology. And that was what Derek had studied, psychology. And he was able to take this information and turn it into stuff that we as marketers could use. Now that's a great position. That's a great superpower to have. That's unique in the space, right? So he could have just continued to post about that on socialtriggers.com and hope that one day, people would find him and then kind of word would spread. And once people found him, yeah, word did spread, but he was able to fast forward that findability by doing the following. I wasn't the only one who he did this with. He did this with so many others, but I want to pay attention to the strategy here. Derek reached out to me, and without any ask, he offered 4 or 5 pieces of advice for me based on his expertise on how I could grow my email list. He had read a blog post of mine, learning that I was brand new to building my email list. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, Pat, I saw that you're building your email list. I know you don't know who I am, but I come from a background that helps people with this kind of thing. And for free, I would love to offer you 3 pieces of advice. Here are those pieces of advice." And I was like, wow. Okay, number 1, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Number 2, I don't know who you are, but you seem very helpful. Thank you so much. And yeah, this stuff kind of makes sense, so I'm going to implement it. 2 weeks later, after implementing 2 of the 3 strategies that Derek talked about, my email list growth doubled. It doubled. So now I feel like I owe it to him. He's helped me out, and I want to help him out back. So he's got my attention now. So what do? Again, without him ever asking, I asked him to come on and record a little video with me and break down exactly what he had me do. And then I shared that on my YouTube channel. Later, I invited him on my podcast, and I've been just, sharing his praises or praising his capabilities ever since. So what did he do? He provided value to me first. Let's talk about Tim Ferriss. in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Perhaps you've heard this story before. But when Tim Ferriss came about, this was around 2006, 2007, he didn't just write his book and then all of a sudden it took off. He put a lot of work in before building relationships and having all those relationships talk about him for him. And this is a strategy that goes along with this phrase, which I absolutely love. I haven't said it in a while, but I think it's something that we should all definitely pay attention to. And this idea of we need to stop trying to be so interesting and start getting interested. Again, we're talking about how to build relationships with people so that eventually they will hopefully talk about us. But it doesn't start with us talking about us. It starts with us being interested in what other people are doing. So what did Tim Ferriss do when he was writing his book, The 4-Hour Workweek? He attended conferences, and I know this firsthand or secondhand because a friend of mine was at one of these conferences where Tim was doing this exact thing. Tim would go to these conferences as a nobody, and he would then get so interested in what all these other bloggers were doing. I don't know if he pinpointed, ooh, that's the person I want to go to. Okay, let me see what they're up to. Oh, here's a person on my list. I don't know if it was that or if he was just kind of engaged in crowds and just kind of was talking more organically. Either way, it still worked. But he got so interested in what everybody else was doing, asking questions, wanting to learn more about it, being very curious, to a point where then these people turn around and say, whoa, Tim, like, I've talked about myself this whole time. Like, tell me about what you're doing. Boom. Now he's gotten the permission, he has the attention, and he's already built a relationship and has earned the right to now talk about this really cool thing called the 4-Hour Workweek, which of course is very hookable. When you hear that, you're like, 4-Hour Workweek. I mean, we all have heard about that book now, but back then it was like 4-Hour Workweek. You mean 40-hour workweek? No, 4-Hour Workweek. Wow. Okay. Tell me more. And then of course he tells more, and he's earned the right to tell, this because now people are interested. And it got to a point where when his book was launched, he then asked people to help him spread the word. And that's exactly what they did. That's how he got to #1 New York Times bestseller. It wasn't by just writing the book. It wasn't about the content. It was about the relationships built beforehand, getting so interested in what other people were doing such that they would be interested in helping out. Right? Chat, give me an emoji if you understand what I'm talking about and if you're on the same page with me. Cool? High five if you are. Thank you. So you can be, quote unquote, somebody nobody knows and still provide value. I interviewed a man named Glenn who gave me a great example of this. This was right at the time when I was launching the SwitchPod. The SwitchPod is an invention. You might see it right over here. If you don't know what the SwitchPod is, this is one of my companies. I share this company with Caleb Wojcik, my videographer. We built this tool, and this tool allows you to put your camera on top, hold it a little bit further away from you, kind of like a vlogging apparatus, and then when you want to put it down, boom. There you go. That's my little plug for SwitchPod. SwitchPod.co, available by itself or with some other things. Anyway, I'm not here to promote that. All that to say that with the SwitchPod, Glenn told me this story. He was like, hey, if a random person came up to you, Pat, and was like, hey, Pat, I know somebody who knows Casey Neistat. Like, can I put him in touch with you? Immediately, because you know that that's something that I'm hugely focused on, that's value to me. That's absolute value. I don't care who you are. You're my best friend right now, right? Thank you for the, Kathy, year of leading dangerously with a new avatar. Well done. I noticed it. Instead of year of APing, it's year of leading dangerously. Love it. I'm with you I'm on the same wavelength. Fantastic. Cool. So SwitchPod. And so what did we do actually to SwitchPod? How did we get influencers and other people to talk about this thing? First of all, we made something nice. We made something that was actually built by them through the feedback and getting them involved in the process. So that was pretty cool. But secondly, for example, with Peter McKinnon on the day that the SwitchPod launched, halfway through reaching our goal, which was great. Our goal was $100,000 within 60 days. We were already at $50,000 within 6 hours. And then all of a sudden, we see this video from Peter McKinnon come out talking about the SwitchPod. We gave him one of these with nothing but no expectation of it, right? Obviously, that's what we hoped would happen. But we had built a relationship with him beforehand. We met him at a conference at VidSummit, and we had I had offered to help with his new podcast, and I was trying to be as much of a servant to him as possible. And then all of a sudden, he comes around and helps us. And then within 11 hours and 26 minutes, we hit our $100,000 funding goal right there. And we still have 59 days left, right? So again, this was exactly how we got to the point where we were like, okay, what can we do for others first? And, it typically comes back in one way or another. It doesn't always come back in that fashion, but it does. So again, we're talking about this idea of if you want to get instantly noticed, have somebody who's already earned trust talk about you. So how did I do this recently? Many of you know I have a brand new YouTube channel. Maybe you didn't, but I do. It's called Deep Pocket Monster. And it's a Pokemon collectible related channel. Pokemon cards, in fact. A hobby that I've gotten really involved with over the past months. Been very excited about it. I'm purchasing a lot of things to invest in anyway. I might as well turn the camera on and make it interesting for people. But I'm using this as an experimental ground to grow a new channel and relay things back to you. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So Deep Pocket Monster launched a week and a half ago. Currently, we have 680 subscribers with 2 videos. You know what helped? Getting mentioned by other people in that space first. I had spent months researching Pokemon, finding other people out there who do talk about it, and showing up in their lives, showing up in their comment section, adding value. And by adding value, for example, with PokeRev, who's one of the bigger YouTube channels here, we've developed a relationship where I've actually helped him out. I've spoken with him offline to talk about things that I think he could do to better enhance his brand. And I've given him some free things here and there, and have been just showing up and offering value to his community. I've been showing up in the live streams, answering questions, doing a lot of research sometimes. For example, when he's opening cards, he wants to know what the prices are, but he can't do that live on the stream because it would be a waste of time for people. So in one moment, I had my computer up while watching his live stream, and I would be super quick, right? Super quick to go, oh, let me find the recent price on that, and I would share it with everybody. And then I started getting noticed. Then now Rev's talking about me in other people's podcasts as somebody who's joined the community, has become very helpful. And the other day when I launched my latest video, he said, hey guys, thanks for watching the stream. The after party is over at Deep Pocket Monster. So he told that to thousands of people. And he's just one example. I've been developing a relationship with another person, Pokemon Radar, and another person named Shivan, and another person named Yizzy, and Polish Rob, and Jake from Twice Baked Jake. There's so many channels that I know about now. And again, I'm taking that same approach that Tim Ferriss did. What can I do to help serve them? And then that allowed me to have a very, very good launch with this new channel. And the new video is going to be coming out later this week, right? So that happened. If you want to check that out and just follow along, Deep Pocket Monster, you can check that out and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 subs, which is pretty crazy. It'll be interesting because I will likely get to 1,000 subs and be nowhere near the ability to monetize, because you need both 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours of total watch time. And I think total now I'm not even at 100 yet, because I only have 2 videos. And anyway, it's just really interesting, right? It's really interesting. So that's the first principle: getting promoted, getting talked about, being spoken about by somebody else who's already earned that trust. That's a quick and easy way to get people to instantly follow and pay attention to you. I'm going to give one more strategy related to that, and then I'm going to move to the second one, which is my all-time favorite thing to do, right? My all-time favorite thing to do, because you still might get people to come at you and find you, but if you can't keep them in, then it would have been for nothing, right? We need to instantly grab people in and have a moment of activation, as I like to call it. We'll get to that in a minute. But one final strategy that just came to mind that works very well is this is from Brian Harris. He coined this term, the poster boy formula, or the poster girl formula. Do you remember back in school how there were like tests, and you would always see in every class there was like that teacher's pet, the one who would have the highest grade, the one who would set the bell curve, who would say, okay, that person who gets the highest score, that becomes like the A+, and everybody else is going below there. So we would all like hate that person because all of our grades were affected by that person doing so well, right? If everybody did poorly, then hey, everybody would get a better grade. But this one person would always be the teacher's pet. And we didn't often like the teacher's pet. Well, I'm asking you to become the teacher's pet. because in this case, there's no grades. It doesn't affect everybody else. It might even inspire people. So Brian talks about this strategy again: poster boy, poster girl formula, teacher's pet strategy, or whatever the case may be. Teacher's pet, right? Dog, cat, wabbit, doesn't matter what kind of pet you are. What matters is you perform well doing somebody else's stuff. Meaning, let's say there's a influencer, a leader, an authority, a teacher out there who shares some strategies. You do those strategies, you do them very well, you're going to get noticed by that person. Because every creator knows that when you share something like a piece of advice to people, and you see other people doing it and it works for them, you're going to highlight those people because it makes you look better, right? And it inspires other people too. This is why some of my most popular podcast episodes are not the ones with Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, or even MKBHD on it. It's the ones with people who are just like you, who have taken action and who are getting results, right? Yeah, I fit that in there nice, right? Pet. I was like, ooh, opportunity. Thanks, chat. I love the secret word thing. It's so much fun. So becoming somebody who can become the example, that's really what it is. And this happens time and time again. This is, in fact, how Brian Harris got on the map. Brian Harris from videofruit.com. He took a course from Noah Kagan, performed very, very well. Noah Kagan from OK Dork, founder of AppSumo. And Noah was just like, whoa, this Brian guy is killing it. I need to show everybody what Brian's doing. And then Brian, with his brand Video Fruit, got noticed because Noah was talking about it, because he was being spoken about in a high regard. So the teacher's pet strategy is good too. If you happen to have at any point in time taken some good advice from somebody, implemented it, I think it would behoove you to go out and tell that person how it's working for them. Whenever I get an email like that, it definitely piques my interest for sure. And fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately because it's obvious that we're helping a lot of people, we get emails like that every day. Hey, Pat, I took your advice. Here's our results now. Unfortunately, I can't highlight every single person anymore. So it'll take a fantastical story to sort of capture the attention to potentially invite that person on the podcast nowadays. Whereas before, I wanted to show every success story because there weren't very many of them in the beginning. Now there are just a ton of them, right? Which is, again, a good thing to have. But when it comes to like somebody else trying to get on my platform, it's that much harder because many, many more people are taking advantage of that, right? So whatever one of those strategies works for you in terms of getting the attention of others, whether it's guest podcasting, whether it's becoming the teacher's pet, whether it's developing relationships and serving that audience first and getting so interested in what they're doing that they're going to then turn around and be interested in what you're doing, I think that's a great strategy to get instantly noticed, to have instant attention. Any of those are cromulent. So let's move on to number 2. Cool? Jillian says, we need a t-shirt for Team Flynn Secret Words. That'd be so random. Just like Wabbit on a shirt. Or what was last week's? Festivus, right? Cool. So let's move on. And by the way, Uncle Bill, thank you so much for the Winky sticker. I appreciate that. That should come in here very shortly here. Sometimes we get a pop-up. It's a little bit delayed, though. It's a little bit delayed. Okay, so let's talk about strategy number 2. And perhaps you've heard me tell this story before, but I'm going to tell the story once again. So back in 2006, 2007, this was before I got laid off, before I even thought about entrepreneurship or blogging or any of this stuff. SmartPassiveIncome.com didn't exist at all. I was an architect or an aspiring architect, right? There you are, Bill. And one of my favorite things to do was read all the personal finance blogs. There were dozens of them, right? And this was back in the day where you would subscribe to a blog with an RSS reader and you'd wake up in the morning on Feedly, or I can't even remember. If you guys remember, let me know. But the RSS readers that were out there, where it would almost be like your newspaper. You'd open up all the blogs that you were subscribed to and you'd see all the new articles that came out and you'd read them. Well, this was that era that I'm talking about, right? And I had subscribed to all of them. I was just obsessed with personal finance, 401ks, Roth IRAs, those kinds of things. And there was one personal finance blogger in particular that I was not a huge fan of because he was a little bit aggressive. He was different than everybody else. And I was a little bit put off by the name of the channel. And the name of his channel was iwillteachyoutoberich.com. Anybody know who I'm talking about? That's right. I'm talking about Ramit Sethi from iwillteachyoutoberich.com. He just had this different approach to things, and I was just more sort of conditioned to believe that, okay, it's the long game. Let's put $20 into my account every single month, and then by the time I'm 65, I'm gonna have this giant nest egg, and I'm gonna live comfortably on the later years of my life. Versus Ramit, he was talking about he was like, no, like there's these other things that you can do instead. Well, one day in my feed reader, I see 4 or 5 of my favorite personal finance bloggers talking about Ramit and a particular article that he had written. And this article was something titled like, save 20% on your cable bill in 15 minutes, right? It was like a Geico ad before Geico was doing that. But it was, call your cable company, read this script that he literally lays out for you. It's like you just word for word read it, and you will save 20% on your cable bill in 15 minutes. And I was like, really? That would be amazing. Because then in my head, I'm calculating, wow, if I was able to save 20%, I'm going to, basically save $25 a month. And then for years, that's like thousands of dollars. Like, for real, is this possible? So anyway, during lunch one day, I call my cable company, I read the script, and I save 25% of my cable bill. It worked. And from that moment forward, I started reading all those other bloggers less, and I started deep diving into Ramit stuff because he gave me the second strategy that I'm going to tell you today, a quick win. He gave me a quick win. Now let's think about what these other personal finance bloggers were giving me. They were giving me great and sound advice, $20 a month into a nest egg account that then will grow and compound over time. But which one do you think is going to be more attractive to me right now? Is it going to be the person who tells me to put my money in a thing that I'm not going to be able to touch until I'm 65? Or is it the person who, within 15 minutes, helped save me thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars over the course of many years? Obviously, the person who gave me that instant win, right? So, quick wins. Let's see how we might be able to offer our audience quick wins. And when people find us, there was a lot of work and a lot of things that had to happen. The planets had to align for that person to land on your website or to watch your video or to read your blog post or to listen to your podcast. It took a lot. Millions of years to reach that point, right? Of human, or tens of thousands of years of human existence for that person at that very moment to come find you and your content. It would absolutely make complete sense to make sure that this person sticks around. So let's offer them a quick win. Think about video games, right? Any good video game, especially like when you think about RPG games and other things like that. I mean, I was involved in, if you've heard this story, and super fans if you read my book. But I remember when I played World of Warcraft for the first time, I mean, I just knew I was going to be hooked because in the beginning, what they do is they don't send you off on the most difficult quest, right? You don't get to level 60 overnight. You get to level 2 within 2 minutes. And when you get to level 2, there's cool sounds that play. You get more mana and other abilities, and then you go on to the next quest. Think about the first level of Angry Birds. You might not, because you might be on level 4,782. But what happens is on the first level, you have 4 Angry Birds on the left-hand side, and then you have 1 Bad Piggy on the top of this tower on the right-hand side. Anywhere you hit on this tower, you're going to win. It's a small, quick win. And I think in our brands, on our content platforms, we need to provide more small, quick wins. Also, small, quick wins are a great way to get the attention of other people, just like what Derek did to me back in that story, just like what I've been doing in the Pokemon space. And then you will have people's attention, just like Ramit got my attention. And now I've been a huge fan. I've spent thousands of dollars with him. We're good friends. He's been on my podcast, all because of that quick win. So chat, let's do a little workshopping. I would love for you who are here live with me right now to tell me a little bit about your business in one phrase or sentence. And if this is an exercise in and of itself, right? But I want to see if we can workshop together some quick wins that you could offer your audience. An obvious case would be you help people with weight loss, right? And let's say, for example, that that's the case. And of course, you want to change a person's life and you want to help them lose, 30, 40, 50 pounds. But that's not going to happen overnight. But if we want to encourage people, let's help them lose 5 pounds in the next 2 weeks. Like, let's just get there. And let's do one simple thing to do that. Let's do a challenge. Let's have a lead magnet that brings them into our email list so we can check up on them. Let's just do a 3-day no sugar challenge. How about that? Something quick and easy where we can get a result, where you can immediately see things happening. This reminds me of my good friends Jen and Jada over at Simple Green Smoothies. They have a 30-day challenge, and this 30-day challenge has been taken by hundreds of thousands of people. What do? They teach people how to make green smoothies, but they position it as something that helps them get more energy, that can potentially help them lose weight. But what do they do in that challenge? Their best recipe is first, because that will help people overcome the idea that, oh, these things are nasty green smoothies, yuck. Let's hit them hard right up front, and then they're hooked, right? And then they get that instant energy just after day one. They get some good vibes. They get to be a part of a community, all that stuff, right? Cool. I think we should choose a word Pat Flynn not allowed to say. It will expand his vocabulary to choose something different. What do you think? Ooh, that could be interesting. So like a taboo kind of game, right? What if I was not able to say, what word would you choose for me not to say? That would be hard. Income? Welcome to the stream, everybody. All right. So, Grandma Goody, parental relief by telling short Bible stories to their kids, offering love and security. Wonderful. I've never heard you say it that well, Grandma Goody, by the way. And I was trying to scroll up so I can pin it here, but I don't. Oh, here we go. Parental relief by telling short Bible stories to their kids, offering love and security. So if you could offer a 3-minute story that gets their kids to start asking questions and being excited to go back to the parent, that could then prove that, wow, Grandma Goody has something to offer, right? And I know a lot of your videos are perhaps much longer. It almost reminds me of that duck waddle waddle song, waddle waddle, waddle waddle. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. But anyway, it's a short little thing that gets everybody talking, and now it has millions of views. But there is it's just a funny song and lesson, but something cute for the kids to watch, that the moment they see it, they're hooked, right? And the parents can understand that they're a part of this. Karma, what's up, Karma? Good to see you here. It's been a while, my friend. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all the other moderators as well. Karma, K-Walk Comedy, Stephanie, now one of our brand new moderators too, Peasant Uprising, Kathy. Who else am I missing? Just Samson. Thank you. So I love that. So something quick, right? Because if parental relief is the thing, let's at least do a little bit of parental relief. If you can capture a person's attention, a kid's attention for just a short period of time, then you can do it and earn the right for this parent to experiment with trying a little bit longer, if that makes sense, right? Problem solving together, says Sean McCann. I help people solve problems and or get unstuck. I love workshops. So let's talk about Sean's real quick. Where was Sean's? I think it was, let's see if I can. So problem solving together. I help people solve problems and or get unstuck. So what might be a quick win that Sean can do? I would say you could present a very common problem in a video or a blog post or whatever. And if you can help people, it's almost like try to figure out how they can get the answer before you tell it. That's a quick win. So hey everybody, I want to present to you a problem. This might be something that you might be related to, or you might be going through right now, or maybe you know somebody who's going through this. Character A needs this to happen, but is struggling because of this. And I want to present to you a few options that character A can choose. And I want to see if you get it right. And you can position this thing in a way where either people get it right and you go, Okay, so you know what to do. So why aren't you doing this for yourself? Now it opens up that possibility, essentially using a quiz to do this. Or they might get it wrong and say, hey, you know what? That's okay, because many people don't understand that this is actually the way to approach it. And now you've learned something. They got a quick win. And then you can apply it to something in their life directly, in which case now it opens up, right? So just a simple question, it'll have to be calculated in terms of what it is. But if you want to change somebody's life, start by changing somebody's day first, right? If you want to change somebody's life, start by changing somebody's day first. Cool. Let's see. Let's keep going here. This is fun. Don't say behoove, says Keisha. Business, that would be a hard one. I've been practicing based on what you taught me. See, and now I'm showcasing you because I've seen the transformation that you've taken. You are my poster girl right now. Poster woman, poster grandma. Cool. Financial therapy. I solve the frustrating part of the accounting and taxes and overall business to help people save money and grow to new heights with no ceiling. Love it, Lex. The hard thing is that financing and accounting scare a lot of people. So how can we make this simple? A small win might be, hey, for the next 2 days, just so there's a little bit more room, for the next 2 days, I want you to keep track of all of your expenses, just anything that comes out of your wallet or accounts. I want you to put them into this worksheet. And after this, I want you to consider what are the things that are absolutely necessary, what are the things that are nice to haves, and what are the things that do not need to be there anymore. And immediately, within 2 days, you're going to see that you're able to save money, and we can do a lot of that with that money too. You're just taking one little portion of accounting versus the whole gamut and making it very, very simple to understand and showing a benefit right away and offering. The cool thing about doing something related to money, Lex, is that you have the ability to get right to it to help people see immediate results, right? And so that's kind of where I would focus if I were you, something of that nature. Oh yeah, I mean, if you or a quick win would be, I don't know how detailed you get into the relationship with your clients, for example, but if they were to, for example, have a portal, or I don't know if you do that. I know a lot of financial advisors do that, where they have a portal and then they can connect their Chase account or Bank of America account or whatever. And they put in their account in there and they see all the numbers, and you go in there and you're like, okay, I found you an extra $780 per year that you can get by just doing this one thing alone, right? Or maybe it's a particular change to a bank that then gets more rewards, or, you know, what one small thing can hook them in, Lex, is kind of where I would focus, if that makes sense. The magic sauce is doing something real cool, adding some magic sauce onto that. Whenever whatever client brief I get, I reply with a quick 5-minute Loom video sharing early questions, insights, and ideas to add value. I love that. I love that a lot. That's a quick win. That's also taking advantage of the fact that not other people are being direct and personable. So I really love that magic sauce. Thank you for that idea. Peter says, a resource for baby boomers and Gen X to find a great place to eat in Australia, a wine for the person that has everything, and a place to find easy, simple tips to live a great life in today's world. So Peter, I'm imagining some sort of quiz where within 2 minutes I can answer a few questions about my taste, my liking, my food preference, whatever, right? And then you tell me in this quiz at the end, and you can automate this too, which is pretty cool. You can say, hey, by the way, you are somebody who likes this. You have this kind of taste, and because of that, here are the places in Australia that I would recommend to you. And if you'd like, I would love to help craft this vacation for you, or I'd love to help you create a special day for somebody special in your life based on these things, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're doing this for somebody who wants to create and treat their spouse out to something nice, or maybe it's for themselves, either way. But if you use a tool like outgrow.co, it's pretty cool because you can actually create this quiz. You can have specific sort of reports based on people's answers. And you could even have it be, if people answer this, then go here. If people answer this, then go here. And you can actually use this mechanism to build an email list. But you are offering a quick result. This reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember this, but HubSpot, which is still around, they have had once a website grader, right? So HubSpot is a marketing tool, a CRM platform that allows you to build your marketing platform, and all the things are in it. It's quite expensive. But this free website grader was one that spread far and wide, because what it did, in a similar way to what I just mentioned for Peter, is it allowed you to just literally punch in your URL, and within 30 seconds, it's like, your website is a C minus. Here's why. Website speed is absolutely atrocious. Your H1 headers on your blog posts don't work. Your writing style is too complicated for people. Here's what you can do to improve. By the way, if you want to check out HubSpot, here you go, right? Wow. And of course, they get the email address to get that report. What a great idea. A quick win that's relevant to the audience, where it's not promotional upfront at all. It's about giving. It's about service. It's about this idea of helping people who have a website. And the cool thing is, it was built in an automated fashion. It just took a little bit of time in coding. It is still there. Cool. And then you've gotten people's attention, at least, right? Again, the quickest way to get people's attention is to have other people who've already earned trust with people recommend you, because there's no better recommendation than one that comes from a friend, quoting Mark Zuckerberg. And number 2, offering a quick win. Because again, if you want to change somebody's life, start by changing somebody's day first. So I see the website.grader.com, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. So now that we've been talking about this a while, Chad, if you're still here with me, I would love to hear from you. What is a new quick win that you might be able to offer your audience? I'm going to pop some of them up on the screen here, and we'll talk about them. How are we enjoying today's stream, by the way? You know, for the last couple weeks, we've been just going Q&A, very general, mixed topics. For the last 2 days, however, since the start of the new work year, we're getting topic specific again, like we used to. And I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing, because it's definitely a change from the last couple years. But hopefully you're enjoying this, you're having some fun, you're learning some stuff, and hopefully you're getting yourself to think a little bit more too. So I'm very grateful that you're here. If you wanted to do me a quick favor, if you've enjoyed any of this, if you've gotten any value from the stream here today, let's see if we can get to 100 thumbs up. I want to have the ability for the crowd here. We have 183 people watching and only 66 thumbs ups. Let's see if we can get to 100 by the end of the stream here. Thank you. Love it. Awesome. Thank you. 2 sisters with all the stars. I love it. Loving it as always, Pat says, my thank you. Loving this topic, says Keisha. Fantastic. Super helpful. Good. Right? And this is just a small, quick thing within the whole realm of building business, but I wanted to give you a small, quick win here at the top of the year so that you can implement something that will help your audience go, wow, okay, I need to pay attention to the magic sauce. I need to pay attention to Lex. I need to pay attention to Scram Happy. I need to pay attention to Tyler or Wendy or Titans of Transition, which is a very cool name, by the way. Titans of Transition. So Elton says, my quick win is to create marketing USP in a snap of your finger. That's a great, great way to approach it. How are you going to do that? And perhaps it might be something like a quiz. Quizzes are getting very popular. It might be a blog post that just says, hey, let's nail your USP, your unique selling proposition. Here are 5 things that you need to have included in it. This is a short blog post, but afterwards, you're going to learn exactly how to take this thing that you think your business is about and actually turn it into something that your business is indeed about. Wow. See, when you ask, you get, but I didn't ask you up front. Actually, I did ask you up front, but now we've seen the land rush of thumbs up because hopefully you feel that I've earned it. So thank you for that. I appreciate you for that. And it's pretty cool because people love numbers. We love challenges, even in a micro moment like this. Hey guys, let's see if we can get to 100 and we all work together to make it happen. And I see that we're about there. So thank you. Headline generator. Nice, Elton. Ryan says, I really need to look at what would be a quick win for mentoring men to grow as husbands and fathers. So that reminds me of a lot of Michael Hyatt's stuff, right? Because Michael Hyatt helping us wholly, both in business and in personal life, achieve our goals. And one way that he does this is, in fact, using a little assessment, a self-assessment in the beginning, to then have us understand which part of both business, life, including religion and spirituality, vocational, avocational, financial, marital, health, fitness, etc. In each, like, to figure out which of those categories are we the weakest. So Ryan, maybe there's some proprietary thing that you can do. Maybe you can create, and you can totally do this. Maybe you create something called self. I'm just making this up on the spot. S stands for, it's the self test, right? S maybe stands for, self-improvement. E stands for, this isn't working like the way I wanted it to, but you can never nail it on the first time. You have to, like, I love picking a word and going, okay, what 4 or 5 things that, as an acronym would fit into this structure, and then now I'm going to name this and it's going to become my thing, right? Like the Oreo formula when it comes to webinars: outcomes, rebuttal, objections, rebuttal, example, outcome. That's memorable, right? So Ryan, can you create a memorable sort of structure? And then I, as a father and a husband, can go in there and sort of assess myself with each of those 4 categories, right? And then I can go, E could be empathy. How much empathy, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much empathy do you have with your spouse? L can be looking into the future. How much do you and your spouse look into the future, and how many plans do you have for things to do together? And then F can be, finances, right? Or I don't know, I'm just making this up. But then within each of those, I can have sort of a ranking system, and you can help people understand where they're weak. And that way you can help them, because part of helping people is having them realize where they need the most help. Empowerment. Cool, Sue. Thank you. Again, just making that up, but I did that. I was like, okay, I'm going to just pick a word that I think people are going to like. Actually, it started with what I knew the first thing was, right? Again, I'm talking about my structure for how to create a great webinar. There's a thing in there that I talk about called the Oreo strategy. I wanted to talk about objections. That was the first letter, and I knew that I just needed a word that started with an O. And I just tried different words, and Oreo seemed to make sense, right? Spiritual, empathy, lifestyle, financial. Nice, Michael. Uncle Bill says, I did give away, which helped for weight control, helped 1, so I can count that as a win being a small uncle YouTuber. I like small uncle YouTuber. Giving away free information is indeed something that can start this quick win thing. But even within those videos, we need to be in the very, very beginning, very, very upfront with what the win will be in that particular video. And yes, any individual video can be a quick win, but even within that video, or as people come to your channel or your website or your podcast, like, what's the one thing in there that's going to serve them the most, right? What about chips? Not talking about cops. Yeah, I mean, you can just literally make up any acronym you want. Alvin is still speaking, almost caught up, LOL. Can you answer my question about PayPal? Where's your question about PayPal, Dawn? If you can ask it again, I'll get to it. I don't see it up here. Cool, this is really fun. We have about 10 minutes left. Thank you for getting us to 100. Can we get to 1,000? I'm just kidding. We're not going to get there because we don't have 1,000 people watching. Not right now, though. Not right now. Bill says, come on, Pat, tell us the truth. You were eating Oreos at the time. As much as I love Oreos, I can't eat them because I know if I have one, I have to have the whole bag. It's just a weakness I know that I have. So, like, free short courses on Teachable? Perhaps. Something that I have in my book, Will It Fly, is something called a companion course, which is a nice quick win. It's not, I wouldn't consider that a quick win, but it's something very valuable up front that people can get access to for free. So in that way, it's a win. But I feel more of a win in terms of having a person have something unlocked for them that they didn't have before. That's what I think a win is in this regard, right? Again, we're talking about getting instant attention from people and this idea of helping people achieve a quick win, not get something quickly that like would have normally been paid for and getting it for free. That kind of can fit the bill. But I think more powerful would be like what Ramit did to me, which was help me understand that I could, make this money from my cable company, or essentially not spend as much with my cable company in 15 minutes. Or what Derek did for me. He sent me an email. He allowed me to grow my email list, which was something that was very important for me, within 2 weeks, basically doubling it. And so I'm going to give back to him as much as possible. And I have. Whoa, elbow. Whoop. Tim says, remember that this community is about helping others in the chat. It's not just about taking, but giving as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're seeing people asking for a bunch of things, but I think that this community exemplifies that very, very well, Tim. And thank you for the reminder, just in case. Should we give something for nothing? Not even the email address to ask? That's up to you, but I think here's the approach I like to take. I want to give it to a person for free with nothing in return. So much so that I want a person to go, wow, okay, I'm back and I need to know more. Like, can I sign up for anything? Can I pay you? Like, I want it to be that good of a quick win. But depending on the situation, it might make sense for the quick win to have also included the possibility of a person coming and joining your email list. I would hesitate to get to the point where you're like, hey, fill out this thing. I'm going to give it to you for free. And here it is, but you need to give me your email first. Here it is. Just kidding. Right? I hesitate to do things like that versus, hey, here it is. And also, if you'd like to sign up to my email list, come here. I don't know why I put a post-it note. Cool. Did I ever see Don's question? Don, someone asked if they could transfer money to account and that the PayPal process was not working. A customer who is trying to purchase my product. Want to keep safe. Should I refer to PayPal? I think best case scenario, if you're unsure about something, go to the source. So go to PayPal. But if they could transfer money to an account, the PayPal process was not working. So obviously you'd want to see money come into the account first. And there's nothing, I think if you considered it a wire transfer, that could work, but you might consider an invoice first to go through that process within PayPal versus just giving a person your PayPal email. Giving them an invoice might have a nice backdoor to something that would actually work. Cool. Okay. So what other questions you have? We have about 7 minutes left. Thank you for all the amazing likes here. That's very helpful. It actually does matter when it comes to people seeing and finding this later. The algorithm does take that into account. And again, I appreciate you being here. Dr. Severin Bryan says, I'm planning to give people budget worksheets for free, then walk them through it. Not sure how quick that win will be. So that's risky. Not saying you shouldn't do it, but we need to talk about this. So Dr. Severin Bryan, helping people with financial planning, says, I'm planning to give people budget worksheets for free, then walking them through it. Not sure how quick of a win that is. That's a nice lead magnet. It's a great way to get people to come in. But number one, a lot of people are afraid of budgeting. So we need to ensure that before we get people to sign up, that they know that this is going to be a simple process. Remember, if this were easy, what would it look like? We need to have that approach for people doing something that often is seemed and perceived as hard or scary, right? So how are we going to ensure that this is easy for people? However, we might backtrack even more. Is there something simpler that we could do for them? A moment or a mindset thing that would help them unlock something that they didn't get before. The trouble with the budgeting thing is that we now have to realize that in order to get the win, they have to A, download it, 2, sit down, and yes, even though they perhaps get some guidance with you over time, they have to do it still and then sort of see the results. I still think you should do that. That is very, very valuable, and I think that would work for gaining new email subscribers. But in terms of hooking people in, literally people finding you on YouTube for the first time, and in one video, Dr. Severin Bryan, how might you help them go, wow, okay, this is great. I'd never considered that. I'm doing this right now, right? So one thing that I heard that caught my attention a while back, which relates to finance, I don't know if it relates to something that you can do, but it's this idea of if you have uncontrollable spending, and because the internet and everything is so much just easier to buy now, sometimes it can work against us. So one quick win that you could do is to reduce your possibility of, what do they call it? Spontaneous spending, right? What's the other word for that? Just kind of like I'm blanking on the word. Spontaneous spending, sort of just like without thinking about it. You put your credit card in a bowl of water and you put it in the freezer. That sounds kind of weird, right? But when you do that, if you ever need your credit card, if you haven't memorized your number, of course, then you're going to have to wait for this thing to defrost, which will give you enough time to then consider whether or not you actually need this thing or not. One thing that I do with finance is I go, okay, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to buy it. Because sometimes that then gives me enough time to impulse. Thank you. Impulse buying. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Impulsive. You don't want to be an impulsive buyer. So that's a quick potential win. But again, that's a little bit more, that may not be the quick win we're looking for, because that actually is taking something away versus giving us something new, right? Although the thing that we're getting new is savings, but that might be a little bit more difficult too. So it might take some workshopping. I would consider, and this is for all of you, if you want a great quick win, what is the easiest to overcome initial struggle that people have? So for example, if you're helping people with branding, if you help people nail the name of their brand, I mean, they're going to be juiced. They're going to be stoked on it. And that's one of the biggest hurdles I know when it comes to branding, especially names of podcasts, names of products, all these things. If you can help people find a great name for their product, well, guess what? They're more likely to dive in and then help you, or you help them with that product, if that's indeed what you do, right? Pew, pew, pew. What's up, John? Wonder if the water freezer thing would damage the card. It might, but it doesn't matter if you're buying things online, right? And Apple Pay can defeat that purpose, right? Super smart of Apple to do that, because guess what? Now impulse buying is even easier. It's kind of crazy. Happy New Year, Mature Man. Rudy, what's up, Rudy? Good to see you. Awesome. So we are at the end of our stream today. That's pretty crazy. This hour flew by, but we had a lot of great stories told. We had a lot of fun things to share. And let's keep this party going. So tomorrow, we're going to start earlier. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and I have a meeting that I cannot miss. So we are going to be starting tomorrow, probably similar to what we did yesterday. Let me check the calendar. So yes, tomorrow we're going to start at 7:30 a.m. Pacific. 7:30 a.m. Pacific, a little bit of an earlier stream. And it looks like we're going to go back to 9 o'clock on... It's just weird this week. The last 2 weeks were great because it was always at like 1 p.m. But now that we're back and there's meetings and stuff, and especially at the beginning of the year, there's often front-loaded a lot of things that are happening. Thank you for dealing with me, and thank you for dealing with the time changes. Tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Appreciate you all for being here. Thank you. I got the secret words in today, so boom. Did we hear tip number 3? No, there was no tip number 3. It was only 2 things. Number 1, having other people endorse you, talk about you, showcase you. That's going to be a quick, easy way to get instant attention. And number 2, offering a quick win of some kind that makes them unlock something that they haven't gotten before, but in a very short period of time, right? Something small. You got to start small before we go big, right? The first step on that ladder, that's what you can help people with. And that's going to help people want to come back to you so they can continue climbing that ladder with you. And that's the name of the game. So thank you all. I appreciate you. Wonderful job today. Let's focus on those quick wins. Let's focus on providing value to others and helping them then want to turn around and help you out too. And you might have some relationships already where you could take advantage of that. So cheers. Take care. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much. And as always, Team Flynn for the win. You're amazing.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Yo, thanks again. Appreciate every single one of you. We are 1 week away. 1 week away from episode 300, which is amazing. 300. And then after that, 65 days away from a whole year. And we're going to go daily up until a year. And then we're going to probably switch it after that. But thank you for being here with me. Appreciate you. Team Flynn for the win. You're a rock star.
Bruh.